Chapter 46, the beginning of Christianity. The foundation of Christianity began in Rome. The Roman nations founded the first church, of whom crucified Isa of Nazareth for seeking to redeem his people from under the Roman yoke and law. Isa himself was a true blood of the ancient Canaanites and Moabites and the inhabitants of Africa. Right? So, so-called Jesus is ancient Moabite from descendant of Africa. Okay? Or let's say Isa or Yahshua, descendant. He himself was of the true blood of the ancient Canaanites and Moabites and the inhabitants of Africa. All these so-called black whatever are going to be against religion. We don't have religion. Religion is whatever like that, blah, blah. But then when Moors say that we're Canaanites, what's their first reference point for who Canaanites are? Bible. Which is the same religious stuff that they say is fake stuff. And then they're saying Noble Drew Ali is practicing Christianity because he's talking about, you know, the Canaanites and Moors are Canaanites. No, he never said Moors are Canaanites. He said ancient Canaanites. Which are different. You can say Egyptians, they say ancient Egyptians. And you know that there's a difference there. Okay, but the Black Power people never call themselves Egyptians. They always say ancient Egyptians. And nobody ever ties ancient Egyptians to the people who we see in Egypt today. They don't do it. Because if you say that something's ancient and then something's modern, then clearly they're different. Same thing with Canaanites. There's ancient Canaanites, then there's modern Canaanites. They keep in their mind looking at Canaanites, not ancient. No different than we say Morocco. Their mind goes to kingdom in Africa, not empire. It's the same misinformation, and the misinformation based on lack of study on their part. Because it's not a secret that Jesus was descendant of ancient Canaanites. When they want to use individual to prove that our people were black and that, you know, we've been calling ourselves black, ancient, whatever like that, they use Solomon. Well, Solomon comes from that same line as Yahshua. So how come they're going to use him as a reference point? And oh yeah, he's whatever, and he's this and he's that or whatever. But then when you bring up Yahshua, oh no, he's fake, the European made him up. Okay, but you guys back Solomon. You guys back all these other people. You guys are going to say Moses comes from ancient Kemet and all that. So there's historical relevance to certain individuals, and then certain individuals they don't want to deal with. Because if they deal with them, it shatters their paradigm that they've been trying to push on people. Because the real deal is that everybody, Isa himself was of the ancient Canaanites and Moabites and the inhabitants of Africa. So Moors aren't against Africa. Moors aren't against African. We just know that Africans are not how our people classify themselves. They have countries that say that they belong to places. They don't say they're African and that's it. They name somewhere. Whereas people over here, they say African. Blanket statement. Africa where? What do you mean you're African? Where in Africa are you talking about? We say Morocco. And then we say Africa's over here. We're not talking about over here when we say Africa. So we can't be, you know, for them to think that, well, Moors talk against Africa because they don't want to say it came out here a slave ship. Well, it has nothing to do with African and all that stuff. We didn't come here on a slave ship. But we do know that this is Africa. Clearly why we didn't come here on a slave ship, because we're already in it. You can't bring me to somewhere where I'm at. Right? Any other questions? Comments?
That, Brother Kuja, that ma'at that you were talking about, do you think that you have to wait until you transition first? Or could you experience that in the flesh while you're in the flesh?
Well, no, it's said that now we can, because all this is supposed to be afterlife, right? But being that they found the hieroglyphics, papyrus, or whatever with this info, we could look at it as this is something that they use to lead them into the afterlife, right? Like a training, just like how we have 10 Commandments. Then you read those, right? Read those, and then they're supposed to get you, make your life better or whatever like that, make you be a good Christian and all that type of stuff, right? Same concept. So if they had these on papyrus and hieroglyphics, then they were accessible for the people to read, so that the people can, if you want to look at it like that was the holy book.
The reason why I asked, because I don't know if you're familiar with a concept called mourning.
Called?
When people mourn,
Uh-huh.
when they go on a spiritual journey, they go away from the world, no
Right.
food, no eating.
Right.
I experienced that scale.
The whole scale.
That scale.
Okay.
And I had astrological signs.
Yeah.
Remember, this time I didn't understand.
Right. Well, what it was?
Had a judge on a bench.
Yeah.
More. No fez though.
Yeah.
There's a more
Yeah.
on a bench. That covers the law part.
Right.
And it had a feather on one side, and they put me on the other. And I remember, this is inside,
Right.
not
Right.
outside.
Yeah.
And conscious of myself, I said, I'm just gonna tell them that I weigh whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just balance out, right? You're supposed to balance out.
Right. Right.
I just say, I'm just gonna balance out. It's only a dream anyway.
Right.
As soon as I went on the scale, of course I went straight to the ground. Judge, all of a sudden the big foot just kicked me out. Boom. Get out.
Yeah.
Not worthy yet.
Right.
So now I knew I had work to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I got up and I was
Right.
like, what? So now you're bringing that back now.
Yeah.
It just clicked right back to me. That was
What-
that was 2007.
Right. What the real lesson
Straight.
and this is why when we deal with the dream realm and stuff like that we push people to interpret your own dreams. So if somebody else has more knowledge than you about your dream, you got serious problems.
Straight.
If you can't decipher your own dream in your own head.
Straight. But the so-called higher ups of the so-called church, they couldn't interpret nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like nothing. I had to go within myself.
Right, within yourself to
To
get the
interpret.
answers.
Not
Right.
they couldn't. They're like, what?
Exactly.
This guy's crazy. What's this guy talking about?
Right.
Because it wasn't on a so-called Christian level.
Right.
It was on a
Yeah,
knowledge.
yeah.
They were on the Christian
Well,
level.
not occult level.
Yeah, but I wasn't on that. You know what I mean?
They were having that.
So they were wondering, what the hell is this guy talking about?
Yeah.
Like he's crazy.
Right. And then you get excommunicated from the church
Oh yeah.
and stuff like that.
That was 2000. I think 2000. About a year and a half later, they're like,
Yeah.
okay, we can't handle this.
We
guy.
can't,
We
yeah.
gotta go.
Yeah.
Just made it-
And then people, take it as a diss, you know what I mean? The
No,
church-
I knew it was time. You know what I mean?
That.
I knew it was. I
The
got in
level,
a car accident the Sunday I was going.
Yeah.
The last Sunday I was going there, I got in a car accident. Never been in a car accident in my
For
life.
real.
I was like, you see,
That's not a sign?
never supposed to go. That was it. That was it for them, you know. But it just that you brought that up.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
clicked. And I've been there. Isn't that the same as? Not the same, but isn't it the same? Isn't it the same ballpark as the Akashic records?
Well,
With knowledge, astral plane.
yeah, the Akashic record is more like a well.
It's a library of.
Like a well, yeah, a library
knowledge,
that
right?
you can access.
Been there too.
Higher
Yeah.
degrees
Been
of,
there too.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
And I was telling them about that. That there's this big giant library that doesn't end.
Yeah.
And there's an old so-called wizard,
That's
the
the librarian?
gatekeeper. Yeah, and he's like telling me you're allowed two books to look at, and they're like, what? You need
to
serious
go
help.
get
Something's wrong with you.
You need to go get checked.
But tapped into all that.
Exactly. Exactly. And then once you tap in, you can't tap out.
No, you can't.
You can't tap out once you tap in. You're not wrestling. And you probably don't want to tap out once you tap in.
Straight up. Straight up.
Then you really have some wrestling with your ancestors. Any questions, sis? Sure? Good? Anybody else? I know you got something. You got something. You, Morris.
Me?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, look like I have. Okay, so what's the story with Jesus? And is he's real? He's a real prophet? That's his real name?
We'll say the story with Yahshua is that he was doing the same stuff that we're doing right now, trying to wake up our people that, you know, those guys are foreigners in your land and all that stuff. Why are you guys paying them taxes? Why are you guys going into this institution, talk about learning about something when, you know, everything is within? You know what I mean? Why did he go turn over the tables of the money changers? You know what I mean? Because you have to face the reality that since those times, the people with the institutions been playing people. Since those times, the people with the buildings talking about we're the whatever have been playing people. Right? Even with regard to the whole Christianity thing, with the same chapter. Right? The Roman nations founded the first church, of whom crucified Isa of Nazareth for seeking to redeem his people from under the Roman yoke and law. So he was freeing the people from under whatever they were under at that time. That was his duty, redeem his people. And, you know, look what they did to him. We're trying to wake up his people. Look what they did to the Moors. We're trying to wake up the world. Look what they did to Noble Drew Ali. Look what they did to Garvey. Look what they did to Al-Haj. Look what they did to Martin. And then keep in mind that once you take the ancestral contract to liberate your people, your dialogue is going to change, especially if you're coming out of Negro, black, colored, whatever mindset. When you're really about liberating the people, your dialogue is going to change, right? That's why people always tell you, with regard to Al-Haj, you know, go back and read his old speeches. So you can see he was revolutionary and all that stuff. But they won't tell you, read the new stuff when he's talking about human rights and he's going to the UN. Same way how Moors talk. They won't tell you about, you know, they'll tell you, oh, Martin Luther was an integrationalist and he was trying, and nonviolence doesn't work and all that stuff. Look what they did to him. They killed him. They were violent against him because he was peaceful. Oh, they were violent against him because he was a Mason and he was telling secrets. That's why they were violent against him. It wasn't because he was giving the secrets up. And the one little secret that he gave up was enough for them to say, wipe him out. Right? And that was in his famous I Have a Dream speech.